So what happens next? Well, in my imagination, Max and Billy decide that they want to move back out west. So Joyce decides to give them the house in Lenora Hills just as a home base until they figure out what they want to do next. But pretty quickly after moving out there, they end up settling down in Santa Barbara. But they're not alone. Lucas joins them as a pre-law student where he goes to UC Santa Barbara. And yes, he and Max end up together. Now let's not forget about Erica. She decides to leave the lowly halls of Hawkins High and ends up getting into MIT, where she majors and earns a PhD in quantum mechanics. Because why the hell not? She goes on to publish several well-renowned papers and later becomes a professor at MIT. And Joyce, Hopper, Jonathan, Will, and Sarah move out to Montauk. The boys decide that they want to be in New York City, and they both end up attending NYU. Jonathan is there for photography, but Will decides that he wants to major in English Lit with a minor in drama, because, of course. But 11, Sarah, she wants to be a little bit closer to the beach, so she ends up going to Fairfield University in Fairfield, Connecticut. She lives off campus, doesn't really do well with roommates. She lives off campus in a little apartment overlooking the ocean, and she majors in art history. She did love making that diorama. Now, we know that, Nancy wanted to go to school and she wanted to drop out, and all of that is very true. She ended up getting a job with a national news publication as an investigative journalist. Love that for her. Now, whatever happened to Robin? Robin and Vicky. Well, they end up staying together and then breaking up and then getting back together before they finally decide to move up. And they move to Missouri, where they end up buying a little cottage right there on the water. They adopt like 10 dogs and 10 cats. They build a chicken coop with their own 2 hands. And the 2 of them live very happily ever after. Of course, Robin becomes a very famous podcaster. And Vicky goes on to get her degree in nursing, later becoming an APRN, so she can write prescriptions. She specializes, though, in pediatrics. Love that for her. Holly stays behind with her parents. And Mike decides that he's going to move out to the coast as well. But instead, Mike ends up going to the University of Rhode Island. Holly is with her parents. Collie and Terry Ives, along with Aunt Becky. They end up moving back to Chicago. Collie really liked it there, and now that she doesn't have to hide out there in the shadows, they end up getting an apartment all together and mending all of their fences and making up for all of their lost time. Collie then goes on to be a very skilled digital artist and joins a really cool startup to do all of their internal marketing and PR collateral, as well as all their decks and their visuals and everything. And she absolutely freaking loves it. Dustin Henderson. Well, Dustin could not possibly he could not possibly let Erica be the only genius, so he too went to MIT to get his degree in quantum mechanics. However, he took a different route. He then moved out to Boston. He got funding and had a startup with 2 other friends of his that he met in college, and has since sold 6 companies. He is a gazillionaire, but he is the same old Dusty Buns that we always knew, and has not changed at all. During the holidays, they all travel to see one another back in Hawkins. Steve ends up marrying a young woman who moved to town originally for some sort of startup position. They fall in love. They have their 6 kids. And he actually goes on to be a really successful baseball coach with the University of Indiana. Think cheaper by the dozen, but with half a dozen. They've got a nice big house, and everyone goes and gathers there to have a reunion over the holidays. But then one day, there's a knock. Will is living in an apartment in the Upper West Side. He has since graduated from NYU only recently, and he's trying to figure out what he's going to do next. He walks over to the door and looks through the little peephole, and it's Mike. Oh my God! Flings open the door. Big hug. What the hell are you doing here? Oh my God, I can't believe this. What a surprise. Mike turns to him and says, I had a question to ask you. Okay, you couldn't ask me this over the phone. Do you remember that painting that you gave to me when we were driving out to the desert? The one with the dragon? Yeah, I remember that. Why? God, that was forever ago. Did Elle really ask you to paint that for me? Or I mean, she knew that I was working on it, but I did it. I wanted to give it to you. Why? Mike, I think you know why. Mike reaches out his arm and slowly closes the door behind him. The end. I can't thank you all enough for welcoming me into the Stranger Things universe. I didn't realize how much I loved the show and how much I knew about it until I started talking about it with all of you. I know that it's not perfect, my fanfic. I forgot to mention that Henry ends up going to Pinehurst to release his father. And the 2 of them return to a new home and live out the rest of their lives together, father and son. And to go over to the Wheelers' house for dinner once a week, of course, because they are family after all. One night, when Henry and Victor were walking home from Karen's house. Sorry, from Alice's house. Just down the street to their home. They were linked arm in arm, Victor with his cane. When suddenly, Henry stops. Hey, Dad. I don't know if I ever really apologized for everything, for that night, for Mom. Henry, do you remember what I always used to tell you every night before I tucked you in? What, like when I was a kid? What do you mean? Every night, when I would tuck you in, you would tell me that you thought that there were monsters under your bed. Do you remember that? Yeah, I guess. And what did I say to you? Every night. You said, Henry, never mind the mind. Exactly. Your mind, your imagination, what really matters is what's in here. Listen to this, because the rest is just noise. And they walk down the street. The pavement glistening with a bit of rain from earlier. And as they pass by one of the streetlights, it doesn't move. It doesn't flicker. And home they go, together, father and son. The world of Stranger Things, as created by the Duffer Brothers, is such a special place that means a lot to the majority of the people that watch the show. And I know that, art is subjective. And as much as you'd love to, you can't please everybody. I still think that the Duffer Brothers ending was great. It was entertaining. It was what it needed to be. And that's that. But in my imagination, I always like to think of what would happen or what came next for these characters. And in my imagination, they're all like living on, happy, free, healthy, and joyful, But anyways, as I was saying before, thank you to every single one of you who has heard me out, who got excited about theories, who gave feedback in the comments, who tune into my lives. Becoming a content creator was never in my playbook. It was literally never in my player's handbook. I thought it was just, get married, start a family, make art, be tired, giggle, cry, giggle, cry, the end. This was never a part of my story, but now it is, and it is thanks to all of you. So not only would I like to thank my audience, my followers, and everyone who was willing to hear me out, but I'd like to thank the Duffer Brothers, their team of producers. I'd like to thank Netflix, the composers, the costuming department, the wig department, hair, makeup, the set, the production design, the set dressers, the PAs, the writers, every single person that was involved at any point in making this show. I hope you know that through all of the noise and the hullabaloo and the complaints and this, that, and the other, you guys as professionals, you guys as creatives, you more than did your jobs. You shifted culture. And you gave us one of the greatest stories that we will ever know in our lifetime. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.